Greetings, it's I, Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. We're once again diving into the world of Golarion, the Pathfinder role-playing games world setting, and discussing some information on it, learning about a few things, and continuing our dive into the various ancestries, giving you some idea of their lore, how they work in Golarion, all that kind of stuff. So if you're joining me, of course, live on Twitch, hey, follow would be great, and welcome here. And if you're joining me a little later on YouTube, hello, YouTube. I also enjoy you joining me. Hi, YouTube. It's always fun to have you, too. Remember, for you guys there, you know, the liking the video, ringing the bell, giving a subscription if you're already not subscribed, all that kind of thing is great. My question, for either side of you, have you played an Empyrean, Empyrean, or how it was called before Pathfinder Core, an Aasimar? So if you were playing in Pathfinder 1st Edition or in early Pathfinder 2nd Edition, it would be an Aasimar. Now they're Empyreans. I like to say Empyreans, but they're Empyreans. I keep trying to missay what their actual name is. Yeah. So let's go over as I do first, for 99% of these videos, the books you might want to check out. So I'll throw myself in the corner and talk about them. These are the books you might want to check out from 1st edition, if you're looking into Empyreans / Aasimars, as they would have been known that. The campaign setting books gives you some basic information, Inner Sea World guides, and of course, Blood of the Angels. If you're looking to 2nd edition, the Ancestry Guide still refers them to as Aasimars and give you some things. Again, a lot of these will also give you mechanical, which I'm not going to be talking about, like, oh, how do you play one, or what abilities to choose, specialized feats, and all that kind of stuff. No. We're here to talk lore aside, so you understand your and their place in the Golarion world. And of course, Player's Core, bringing back, you know, the more information on them at this point in time, and kind of reintroducing them to us. So they are a Nephilim Planar Scion. If you missed my previous video where I talked about Nephilims, and other video before that I talked about Planar Scions, yeah, you're beings that have connections to the outer planes, and Nephilims are particular ones that tend to be more religious and / alignment based. Tend to be the descendants of celestial beings from the great beyond. They can be also referred to as angelkins, celestials, god-touched, but they also have specific heritages we are going to talk about today, which they can often be described under those heritages. So Empyreans have minor physical indications of their unusual ancestry. The differences can span a wide range, but most often are exemplified by an unearthly beauty, hair that shines like metal, strange eye colors, glowing golden halos. In many cases, their beauty is not due to physical traits, but rather a supernatural tendency, among others, to interpret their features as beautiful or attractive. This heritage can remain hidden for generations and unexpectedly appear in offspring of two seemingly normal humanoid parents. That's a big thing about it. So it's another one of those things, is that there is blood that goes through them and can reawaken. They tend to have strong, confident personalities with minds that aren't easily shaken by doubt or misdirection. They're often quite insightful and perceptive, able to formulate coherent and persuasive arguments with little efforts. And like their ancestors, many Empyreans have an increased power over light and dark, displaying the ability to see in complete darkness for a limited distance and spontaneously generating daylight. Many of them also inherit strong resistance to cold, heat or fire, and corrosive effects. So basically that's the mechanical stats kind of breaking down. So for origins, though, most alive in Golarion are not, in fact, direct descendants of Celestials, but are generated from holy blessings or leftover energies from a holy place. The possibility of Empyrean birth continues to many generations after such union, even when two mortals have children, as long as one of the mortals is a direct descendant of a Celestial. Though half-celestial creatures do come in many shapes and forms, that's another thing, that a Celestial ending up with anything could have a half-celestial. Empyreans are only born to humanoids. So, yeah, if you have a half-celestial, sometimes getting with a celestial being results in Empyrean. If the blood it just tended to aim more towards the humanoid. Or half-celestial will have children, and that children, if they are humanoid, will end up in Empyrean. The half-celestial nature does not last as long within non-humanoid creatures. It kind of dies out much quicker. So Empyreans can be born from the union of half celestial and another mortal being. That's mentioned here. I just talked about that. Yeah, you know, it's a thing. So for most, the source of the celestial blood is unknown. Is it, you know, a holy blessing? Is it energy from a very holy place? Is it a union between a celestial? But there are those that can trace their blood back to a specific type of outsider. And if you are connected to specifically one of these outsider types, you tend to have your physical form and personalities shaped by this. Again, I talked about this when I talked about Cambions, who are, you know, connected with fiends rather than celestials. The influence of personality doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have that personality. These are traits that tend to be within the average Empyrean. It's just how much you accept those traits, how much you resist those traits, how much you allow these basic general natures to influence you. There are 5 that we're going to talk about today. Oh, sorry, 6. I miscounted for a second. Agathian-blooded or Idyllican are descended from Agathians. Simple as that. The Angelkin or Angel-blooded are descended from angels. The Archon-blooded or Lawbringers are descended from Archons. The Azada-blooded or Muse-touch are descended from Azadas. The Garud-blooded or Empyreans descended from Garudas. The Peri-blooded are descendants from Peris. And of course, yeah, that's it. Honestly, it's very simple. And the books you might want to look into for stuff on this is Player's Core, and of course Blood of Angels will give you better detailing of some of these things. Maybe quickly open up Blood of Angels. I'll take a drink here while I attempt to do this. On the fly a little bit. Oh, there it is. All right. I'm good at this kind of thing. Very often. Just to give a little bit of information, Agathian-born like to spread good in its purest form, unconcerned with the tribulation of chaos and law. They travel to place to spread righteous wisdom, recruit both intelligent creatures and animals to their cause. They often possess bestial qualities such as dragon scales, fish scales, fur, manes, or talons, slit pupils, pronounced canines. Furry ears are all common indications of an Agathian background and a Empyrean. And again, like the Idyllican. And the different traits depend on their animal aspect, so too the Idyllican. If you're from Averils, they'll have like feathery hail, like open areas. Lionels are aggressive and have sharp finger-like claws. So you kind of see like whatever their direct Agathian progenitor was, does show you a little bit more. So it's not only an Agathian, specific Agathians will have influence on them. They're often found in wild reaches of Golarion, like Kyonin, Land of the Linnerim Kings, or the Mwangi Expanse. They prefer villages to city and work as hunters, herbalists, or herders, if they haven't carved out their own name in that territory. Angelkin, the Angel-blooded, they often follow the righteous paths of their celestial ancestors walked, and are as varied as angels as how they go about their duties, and kind of idea about that. Even among those who embrace law, neutrality, or chaos. Of all of them, of all the Empyreans, Angelkin are the type to perhaps most often clash with Tieflings. They have a difficulty idea embracing of harmony when it comes to their corrupted cousins, and see Cambions as embodiments of evil that can never be trusted. It takes a lot of circumstances for them to cooperate with Cambions, and then it's pretty rare. They're mostly found in Varisia due to a large part of the free-roaming spirit and nature of the Varisians and the acceptance of signs of the divine, as well as large city centers of places like Absalom and Operetta. Many of them feel the call of life of a crusader or paladin, so they can also be found in Andorra, working against oppression, and of course they were near the World Wound, too. The Archons, the Lawbringers, reflect the patience in their Archon ancestors in their daily lives. They understand the need for rules and routines, and use their discipline to train those in a chosen field as they seek to do good. They develop their talents faster than many of their peers and show skill whenever they focus their attention on. They feel comfortable in regions where there's a clear hierarchical system and justice exists, tend to be along good people and honest rulers. They can be found in Andorra, Lastwall, Mendev, Mothum. Those in Mendev are paladins, crusaders who use their home as a place to rest between excursions to the World Wound. Evil kingdoms that use tyranny and repression infuriate lawbringers. So they can be found in Cheliax, Geb, and Nettle, basically organizing resistance forces. They usually try to go for legitimate ways first, and the least destructive ways to neutralize tyrannical governments, So they want to go legitimate ways to overthrow the government first, to resist the government, and then go to, more extreme. The Muse touch the Azadaborn are capricious Empyreans that are likely to be found adventuring through the lands, both civilized and remote. They have a spirit of wanderlust. They feel the urge to explore new places, meet new people, ferret out evil and corruption where they lurk. Of all of them, Muse touch the Imperium. They tend to be amongst beautiful by human standards. They have features of unearthly charm, long, thick hair of impossible hues, limpid jewelry touch eyes. They have innate musical talents, love for melodies, and many go into bard work. Their distaste for oppression and innate love for good draws them to places like Andorra and the River Kingdoms, and their beauty and free-roaming spirits endears them to fortune-tellers and vagabonds of Varisia. Their drive to visit new places, they explore the furthest places in Golarion. Muse touch from the Inner Sea can be found as far as Vudra or TNZ, as well as the crystalline cities of Delarkani and southern Gurund, where they're seen as beings worth worship, almost. The Garud blood, the Plumekin. So Garudas are noblest, imperious, bird-like celestials, and most Garud blood Imperiums grow graceful feathers during puberty. Majority have shimmering wings. Things can be virtually any shade, ranging from metallic-colored hues to pure white and rarely glossy black. Plumekith are sometimes born with taloned fingers or toes and occasionally amber-like eyes like those of an eagle. Like their ancestors, they tend to take action at the spur of a moment when their abilities are needed. They rush into the heat of battle to face off against evildoers, only stopping to ask questions afterwards. They hate Nagas and other snake-like creatures, which is basically from their Garuda ancestry. They like mountains, high regions. So the Mindspin Mountains in Belzikin to wage war on the Savager Orcs. That's one of the places they may go to. Go to the Five King Mountains, fight Gnolls and the Braves and Peaks of Kapadesh. Or some of the hills and mountains in Varisia. They often claim to be loners, but do crave companionship occasionally. And when they aren't traveling, they do make their homes near towns or small cities. And then the Emberkim, the Perry-blooded. They reveal their ancestry through their skin with fire-based magic and desire to repent others' sins. Many suffer from frequent nightmares and strange impulses to commit spontaneous acts of evil. They have ingenious features such as wispy auburn hair, bright yellow eyes, and few are born with albino skin. They feel an insatiable need to continue to perform acts of good. Some are driven for small acts of kindness at home. Others feel driven to travel in order to find pockets of evil they can eradicate. Emberkin can often be found in tumultuous regions such as Cheliax, Galt, and the Shackles, where they fight injustice in myriad forms. Like other Imperiums, they're not necessarily compelled to embrace good or justice. Perhaps more than any of their other celestial kin, they have a propensity to revolt against the benevolent nature and go to darker paths. Perhaps they're evil by nature, or perhaps the remnant of the fallen angel ancestry. Either way, the wicked individuals are often dangerous and both pitied and hunted down by their own Empyrean brethren. There you go. I thought I had a good place for it, but I had to look it up in another location. That's how it goes in these times for looking up things. Alright. So, Imperiums are usually prized at birth, and communities ensure that these blessed children are given encouragement because of a divine destiny. Those that devote themselves to church become clerics or champions, and artistic ones tend towards bards. So they are treated as living miracles. Kind of a very opposite of the Cambions. This does, though, have a similar thing that they are tended to result in them being outcast among their peers in many of their formative years. And they are given a lot of strange attention from superstitious folk who seek blessings from a descendant of a holy being. Not all these are benevolent, but many tend to be. Despite their natural traits, there is a bunch of difficulty that they do face in their lives. They have higher expectations on them from youth, and envy and resentment from their peers can face stigma in many communities. Because of their reputation for generally good creatures, they are sometimes targeted for killing or capture by evil beings. Things like black dragons love to do it to them. And the traits afforded by them by their heritage, such as beauty, often cause them to be targets of slave trades, honestly. And due to their rarity, they do rarely form true societies. And it's rare for more than one to live in the same town or village. And Empyrean children, to find older members of her species, often serve as guardians or mentors. They live in societies of their parents' species, basically. There was an etymology for the Aasimar name in the Tiefling Taldane language. It derives from a combination of celestial terms, Azu meaning new and Mar meaning birth. Both those words in Celestial are derived from the Draconic language. But that, I don't know how much the term Aasimar is actually used anymore, since we have a new term for them. Might still be to a degree. Here's an evil Aasimar. Bum bum bum. She's a cleric of Lamashtu. Very evil. Goes very much against your normal kind of way of doing things. So, Imperium have been on Golarion for thousands of years, but there has been a recent increase in their births. It has been thought to coincide with an increased number of Cambions from places like Cheliax, which has held influence. They're most common in settlements where populations include a large portion of natives of the Great Beyond, like in Capitesh and Garund. In the Inner Sea, the largest populations are Varizia, Lastwall, Mendav, Niramet, and Dorn. Imperiums born in Cheliax or Niddle, they're oftentimes considered threats by the government and forced to live in secret. In Cheliax, they're particularly mistaken for Cambions and subjected to discrimination as other Planar Scions face. Those born Emberkin are held in high regards by Sarenrae, worshipping nation of Aquaria. Klumkim are common among the nomads of Quadria's Zo Mountains, where they were once watched over by Imperium's Garuda ancestors. Emberkim are also in Rahadum and Thuvia, and there are a high number of Peris who live there. Empyreans are relatively uncommon in most of Golarion. They are the primary inhabitant of Tai Jing in Tianzi. They're descendant of a celestial force that arrived in the region thousands of years to fight a Clip-Off invasion, and which passed the rule of land to their Imperium descendants upon their return to the upper planes. So there is an actual kingdom of Imperiums, and I'll talk about it when the TNZ book comes out much later than the time that this video is going up on YouTube and stuff like that. and is being live, and you know, it'll be an opportunity to talk about that nation once we know a lot more about it in when that book comes out. So it'll be an interesting one. But yeah, fought a Clip invasion, left behind a lot of kinfolk, so that blood just stays in that nation. I mean, I know a little bit about that one, but I'd want to wait. It's in the Dragon Empire Gazetteer. I want to wait for the full book to come out, the new one. But there you go. That's it for Empyreans. Yeah, interestingly enough, you can definitely see that Empyreans get the better... Well, they get a lot better of a life in general than somebody like a Cambion and a lot of other Planar Scions. It doesn't mean that their life is not without hardships. That kind of like idea that they are almost semi-worshipped and they are seen as having this much higher importance in the grand scheme of the universe means that they have a lot of stress put upon them at a very early age. A lot of like ideas that they are important, they are needed, they you know, it's this. While they're accepted, they have given a lot more, you know, responsibility that's not necessarily theirs. It probably isn't theirs. And that's not great for children either. Certainly, it's much nicer. Definitely much nicer than a lot of the treatment a lot of other Planar Scions can go. But again, it doesn't mean that their life is perfect by any word. And certainly speaking, some places it could be even just as bad. It depends on where they're born and how they're born and what they make of their lives. I talked about the various general ideas of the different Empyrean bloodlines. And that can make a difference too. That makes a difference where they're coming from and where their reflection upon the world, their natural one comes to. And yeah, you can definitely resist and reject all of those connections as much as you want and make your own, carve your own path out of there. But that connection to the general goodness of the world does exist. And the general goodness that are the Celestials. You can't get away from it. You have Celestial blood in you. No matter how much you try. Just some certainly very much so resist it. Anyway, that's it for today. We'll leave it here. I'll talk about more ancestries, more Planar Scions in the future. If you enjoyed this and you want to see more, if you want to catch me live, you can always catch me live. All the tabletop stuff goes up on YouTube a few days later, but the live schedule is Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays for tabletop discussions like this one's. Thursdays are my Pathfinder / Golarion days. Tuesdays and Thursdays in the early afternoons, usually between 1 or 2, maybe a little bit later depending on life schedule. And then Saturdays around 11 o'clock in the morning, late morning, all EST. On Wednesdays at 9 p.m., if you want to catch a live play of Pathfinder First Edition, it's my current ongoing live play game, Crimson Queen. We're playing through an adapted version of the Curse of the Crimson Throne, so if you played through that, you'll get some things. And it's Pathfinder First Edition. It's a fun time. I really recommend it. And then Saturdays at 6 p.m. is Discussing Tabletop. It's my tabletop discussion show. We talk about news of the week, deep discussions in relation to tabletop, all those kind of things, what's been going on in the tabletop world. All right, and I also have some social media, Discord, Twitter.com. Check it out, links below, or, you know, in chats and stuff like that. And, yeah, until the next time we talk about more ancestries, more species, more anything like this. There's plenty more to talk about. I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.